Hi, I hope that everyone had a good couple of days. It's been really good weather outside and a good summer so far. So, let's see. Starting this off, English language learners. Okay, so how do the strategies dealing with teacher talk and classroom routine and review reflect the guidelines for practice presented in chapter 1? I think that the chapters 3 and 4 from English only teachers in mixed language classrooms, the survival guide, had a lot of ideas that did reflect the 120 content strategies for English language learners from chapter 1. And I have a couple PowerPoint slides that reflect these. Um, so something that I did gather from the 120 strategies is that content teachers can help. Even though you're not teaching English to your English language learners, it is important that you use certain strategies in your classroom that will help these students, because if you're just teaching them as if they were any other student in your classroom, they are not going to get their full potential. And a quote that I took from page 3 from the 120 strategies were, teachers who are aware of challenges and use techniques to make course materials more learnable can make a difference. And I saw a lot of this in this because they teach how, like, doing songs and rhyming and things like that are techniques you can use that will make a difference in academics of your students. Oh my gosh, something that I saw that I was like, kind of like, wow, this is something I didn't think about before from the 120 strategies is how difficult academic language is for students. This is a quote I took from page 4. Jim Cummins contributed to the concept that academic language, the language of the classroom, requires more cognitively demanding language skills than social, because and they also said that it takes 6 months to 2 years to understand social language, because you use it every single day with your peers, daily life, and everything like that. So you're going to get that before your academic language. And just to put in perspective how difficult academic language is when students are asked a certain question in a test or a homework, they might say to define something, list something, explain something, classify things, infer, deduce, defend, justify. That's very complicated. And I remember when I was in school getting asked, like, oh, can you defend this person? And I'd be like, wait, what does defend mean? Like, I remember being confused with all this academic language too. So I can't even imagine what ELL learners are facing now. So it is important. I had a chart on page 5 to explain how you can change your questioning. One was formulate a hypothesis that predicts the most probable outcome. Explain your reasoning. That can be super difficult for a ELL learner to comprehend, rather than what do you think is going to happen next and explain why. And these are things teachers can do to just really help your English language learners in your classroom, and not just treat them as if they were new English their whole life. And some things that I saw that reflected these guidelines from the other book were vocabulary games on page 37. There's so many vocab games you can do with your students that can help enhance their English language. There's oral language games, poems, songs, picture card games. You can reenact things. You can do as much as you can. And those are just some things that can help even just enhancing the academic language, so vocab games in general. The 100 Content Strategies book on chapter 1 had Zone of Proximal Development, and I learned that since like my freshman year of taking education classes. And on page 9, I just wrote that students learn most effectively by becoming active participants in their own learning through interaction in the classroom, which I believe is very important. And students will progress at their greatest potential when students scaffold instructions with activity and assignment strategies that encourage working with teachers and peers individually and in groups, in an atmosphere of guidance and collaboration. So like, students need that guidance. Students need to be scaffolded by their peers and their teachers. And I saw on page 41 of English only teachers in mixed language classrooms that you should always have language group meetings, and that's kind of like zone of proximal development. And I learned that there's different levels of ELL learners. I learned that level 1 is probably someone just moving to the United States, coming brand new into your classroom, not knowing any English. Level 2, they've been there for a year. Level 3, blah, 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 they've been there for over a year. And I think that you need to take into consideration what level they're at and scaffold them through that. And on page 14 of the 120 content strategies, there was 12 guidelines, and I just put some that I thought were pretty eye-opening for me. Use scaffolding strategies to assess content knowledge separated from English language. So if you're giving a test on social studies knowledge, don't assess them with English language. Maybe do it in a different way or an easier way. Do it verbally instead of writing, etc. Actively teach learning strategies to give students a menu of ways to process and learn new information. I think it is very important as an educator to teach your students ways where they can learn and process new information. No one teaches them, oh, use flashcards, oh, make a song up. You need to show your students ways and they need to figure out what ways they learn best. Lower learner anxiety in the classroom to create students who are more willing to participate in the class, to become risk takers in the learning process, and ultimately to become more successful learners. Something that I thought reflected from the other textbook on page 29, it says, it is not uncommon for students to come to your classroom quiet and appear shy. This is why I suggest that welcome them being friendly and undemanding, and the orientation gradual. So don't push your students at the very beginning. Let them take their time to come into your classroom and be comfortable. And that's kind of one of the guidelines from the textbook. And these are just some pictures that I thought represented the material in the textbook too. So scaffolding strategies, use of first language, read aloud, modeling. It talks about a lot of modeling in these chapters. Intentional small group / partner work. You want to have a lot of group work. Sentence structure. So you can teach them the structure if they need help before. A lot of graphic organizers, a lot of visuals. And it talks about a lot of Bloom's taxonomy in the 120 content strategies, and I just kind of put that there too. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you got a lot of information from this and understood what I reflected on. Thanks.